The first body was found with mud inside his mouth. Not ordinary mud. Black mud that smelled like river water. The old women in my village saw the body and refused to speak. Some started crying immediately. Others just shook their heads slowly like they already knew this would happen. But the men pretended not to be scared. That was before 2 more bodies appeared. And before I became the only man who returned alive from Ojo Forest. I grew up in a small village in eastern Nigeria where people still feared old gods and forest spirits. Behind our village stood a dark forest called Ojo Forest. Nobody entered that place after sunset. Women especially respected the forest. They dropped food near the entrance sometimes. Small gifts too. Palm oil. White cloth. Mirrors. But many young men laughed at those traditions. They said old people only used fear to control everyone. Inside the forest was an old shrine belonging to a deity called Mama Enenimiri, the river mother. According to village stories, she was once a real woman many years ago. They said she married a hunter who beat her badly. The man was feared in the village, so nobody defended her. One farming season, crops failed badly and children started falling sick. The villagers blamed her. They called her a witch. One night during heavy rain, her husband and other men dragged her into the forest. They tied her beside the river and left her there to die. But the next morning, her body disappeared. After that night, strange things started happening. Men who abused women began dying mysteriously. One drowned in water that reached only his knees. Another disappeared completely. One man ran mad and kept shouting about a woman singing near the river before he died. But women started receiving blessings. Women who could not have children suddenly became pregnant. Lost girls returned safely from the forest. Widows somehow found food and money during hard times. The elders believed the woman became a deity after death. A spirit that protected women because of the pain she suffered while alive. I never believed any of it. I thought it was just another village tale people used to scare children. Back then I was 24 and had recently returned from Lagos after failing to find work. I stayed with my uncle who also believed the shrine stories were nonsense. Then one night, everything changed. 3 men came to our compound drunk. Emeka, Bello, and Dogo. Everybody feared Dogo because he was violent. Even married women crossed the road whenever they saw him coming. That night he was heavily drunk. He sat down in our compound and started laughing loudly. "All these old stories are lies," he said. "That shrine inside the forest is hiding gold." My uncle warned him immediately. "Do not go there," he said quietly. But Dogo laughed harder. "You old men are protecting treasure with fake spirits." Then he looked directly at me. "You went to school," he said. "Come with us tonight. Or are you scared too?" I should have refused. Till today I wish I refused. But I wanted to prove I was not afraid. So around 11 that night, the 4 of us entered Ojo Forest. At first the men kept joking loudly. But after some time, the forest became strange. Very strange. The air suddenly turned cold. Then the insects stopped making noise. No crickets. No frogs. Nothing. Just silence. That was the moment fear entered my body for the first time. Even Dogo became quieter. Then we finally saw the shrine. Small. Old. Covered with white chalk. Red cloth hung from the trees around it like somebody tied them there recently. The place smelled like wet earth and rotten flowers. Bello kicked one of the clay pots beside the shrine. Nothing happened. Dogo spat directly on the shrine. Still nothing. The men started laughing again. Then Emeka noticed something behind the shrine. A wooden box buried halfway inside the ground. The three men rushed toward it immediately. Treasure, Dogo shouted. They dug it out quickly. But when they opened it, there was no gold. Only women's belongings. Hair combs. Beads. Old earrings. Mirrors. Dogo became angry. This nonsense, he shouted. Then he threw the box into the mud. And suddenly, a woman started crying somewhere inside the darkness.